Just get some of those tabletop ones they've got.
Okay, good evening, everybody. We're just a little bit late, but we'll get going. I think this is going to go pretty quick. We're going to call to meeting the City of Holladay City Council meeting on June 5th, and we'll start with the pledge. If everybody please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Since I recognize just about everybody in here except one person, I'm assuming we're not going to have a lot of comment on the public hearing, so I'm not going to go through that whole spiel about not getting up, and we're just going to go to right to public comment. Please keep it to 3 minutes or less. Trudy, you can show us the way and give us your name and address, please. Public comment is open.
I'm Trudy from the library. I want to thank those of you who could make it to the tree unveiling today. It was a lot of fun, and the tree's still there, so you can come see it anytime. But it was pretty awesome. And summer reading has started, and I did not bring you your trackers this year, so you're going to have to come to the library and get your own. But has started, and you get a $5 fine waiver just for signing up. And if you finish, then you get a free book. You get coupons to some of our community partners, and you get to enter the cool drawings. Yeah. We have the new Monday story time going on. It has been going on in the gazebo and will continue to go on in the gazebo in the park just behind for June. In July, it's going to switch to Knudsen Park. So that's going to be fun. On Wednesday, the 11th, we have a Red Cross blood drive from 1 to 7. We'll be closed on the 19th for Juneteenth. We're going to start a new program on the 21st called Knots and Thoughts. It's a fiber crafting get-together sort of class. We have an embroidery set and some tote bags that you can start with if you want, or you can bring your own projects. It'll be every first and third Saturday after that, so starting on the 21st. We have a really cool art exhibit up right now. It is Chinese American youth art honoring Chinese railroad workers. And it'll be up all month, but on the 23rd, they're going to have a reception that will have folk music and dancing and lots of fun things. And that's at 6 o'clock on the 23rd. And we're going to have a Magic the Gathering Club starting on the 25th of June. That's a Wednesday at 3 p.m. So if Magic the Gathering is your thing, then please come join the teenagers for that. And that's what's going on at the library right now. Any questions?
Anything for Trudy?
Anything?
You guys are busy. Busy summer?
We try, yeah.
It's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Chanel, and I'm from Taylorsville. So I'm from a ways away. Grab my notes up here.
What's your last name, Chanel?
Hill.
Hill.
So my name is Chanel Hill, and I am the founder and senior officer of Stand Against Fear and Exploitation. It's a 501c4 nonprofit based right here in Utah. SAFE is dedicated into creating stronger legal protections for our communities, especially children, survivors, and the most vulnerable to harm. I'm here tonight to introduce a legislative initiative that SAFE has developed to respectfully request your support. Not financial, but moral and civic. We are asking of a formal letter of support from the Council in favor of a Sex Offender Violation Accountability Act, a reform that has already gained sponsorship from a current Utah House representative. This proposed legislation aims to do two essential things: strengthen penalties for registered sex offenders who violate the term of their registry or supervision, reclassification, those who those violations from misdemeanors to felonies. When they knowingly enter areas like school, parks, and daycares where our children should feel safe. 2, reduce recidivism in our state by including trauma-informed reintegration support, including 1-year transitional halfway housing program to assist eligible offenders, especially those who were victims before offenders. And safely re-entering society with structure, therapy, and oversight. We're not asking for funding. What we are seeking is for your support on paper, a written statement from each council member that says we believe in productive public safety. We believe that we will support and stand behind safe or stand against fear and exploitation, that you guys are doing the right thing by going legislatively, and you guys are strong and you guys can do it. With over 8,000 registered sex offenders in Salt Lake County, the registered sex offenders don't just stop there. Your neighboring cities have 3,582 sex offenders. That is 1 offender every 55 residents. We cannot afford to treat repeat violations lightly. The current penalty is 365 days in jail and up to a $2,500 fine with no mandatory violation. So that means if the judge says that these guys get 10 days in jail and no fine, that's what it is. So with your support, we can demonstrate to the legislator and local leaders, stand united behind the reform, that our cities demand better protections and are willing to lead the charge in saying enough is enough. Thank you for your time and your public service, and considering SAFE's request. We cannot do it without each and every one of you guys, and we look forward to hearing from you guys.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, anybody else for public comment? There being none, we'll close public comment and move to item number 4. This would be a public hearing on proposed budget amendments for fiscal year 2024-2025. That's this year, the final budget amendment. We went through the details in the work session prior. Any final questions or comments from council? There being none, we'll open up the public hearing. Anybody to address the council? There being none, we'll close the public hearing, move to item number 5, the public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 budgets. This would be the tentative budget that has been posted in the packet. We've got some highlights that Christian will walk us through, and then we'll go to the public hearing. So, Christian.
Thank you, Mayor. And as the mayor previously mentioned, this is really meant to be seen, this presentation is meant to be seen as just a really high-level look at the tentative budget and where we were a couple months ago. So starting off with property tax, we budgeted an increase of $29,000, which was based off of the previous 5 years average new growth we've seen. This isn't a result of a property tax increase, it's just new growth from improvements and new builds within Holladay. And that took us from what was $8.4 million to that plus $29,000. We budgeted an increase in sales tax of $163,000, which is an increase over the prior year's budget, but a decrease over the prior year's actual. So it's really meant to be keeping us pretty stable with what we've seen over the last few years for sales tax. And then we had a decrease in franchise tax from gas of $200,000, and that's as a result of what was a very mild winter this previous year, and also a change in the billing structure of when Dominion Energy was absorbed by Enbridge. And that's something we're continuing to monitor as more data comes in. And then additionally, we have an increase in intergovernmental revenue that is the Salt Lake County Roads Fund, the 5th of the 5th, which is $355,000. Moving on to expenditures, we have a 3% COLA increase for staff, and this number is citywide. This is not just the general fund. We have a $72,000 increase from that. UPD, we have a 5.62% increase, and that number has changed in the final budget, just a note. UFA increase of 4.1%, a Salt Lake County Public Works contract increase of 2.7%. That has also changed in the final budget.
Christian?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, on the UPD, did it change from this or to this?
From this. So this is not the final number. When we cover the final budget, it will be different than this. So it didn't change to this, it changed from this.
Got it.
Yep. And then we had a few various parks items, and then we had a budgeted contribution to fund balance of $412,000. Okay, moving on to the arts fund, we had a $139,000 transfer from the general fund, which is for salaries and benefits for the personnel of the arts fund, and then also a portion of that is for projects specifically. We have $37,000 worth of grants, $29,000 worth of donations, $25,000 worth of ticket sales, personnel $103,000, management fees $73,000. And all of that comes together with a zero use of fund balance and a zero contribution to fund balance within the arts fund. So we're not anticipating to use or contribute to any fund balance in the arts fund next year. Next, the capital projects fund. We had a $1,085,000 transfer from the general fund to the capital projects fund. This has also changed in the final budget as a result of an increase for roads and also the Holladay Village lighting. We'll cover that in more detail across the hall. $450,000 for interest, $107,000 from impact fees, paving projects for $500,000, Murray Holladay Road Signal for $350,000. If the council remembers the last budget amendment we did, that was the road signal that's over by Royal Holladay Hills, and the intention is that the developer will eventually reimburse us for those costs.
Christian, that interest, is that interest revenue or interest expense from the bond?
Interest revenue. Yep. Yeah, and it's, if you had looked at the previous year's budget, you'll notice that this is a pretty significant decline, and that's with the understanding that we will be spending some of those bond proceeds and anticipating that we'll receive less interest revenue as a result. And then we have a transfer to the grants fund of $204,000, which I'll cover in more detail on the next slide. Transfer to debt service for $107,000. That's the impact fees that's meant to supplement the debt service. And then other projects at $364,000 and a use of fund balance of $328,000. Okay, moving on to the grants fund. We have the Wasatch Boulevard bike lane improvements for $364,000. These are grant-funded projects. I'll just reiterate that. Salt Lake County TRCC Historic Experiences and Trellis Columns. That's $575,000. We have the 2700 East project phase 2. That's a sidewalk project for $125,000. The second phase of it. We have signal optimization, and then we have City Hall improvements for energy efficiency grant. I believe the intention is to use that for HVAC improvements for City Hall. And then we have the water conservation study general plan update for $15,000, and then the bridge replacement for $336,000. And you'll notice the use of fund balance is also $336,000. The transfer in for that project was completed in fiscal year 25, so it's come into fund balance in 25, and it's going to come out of fund balance in 26. Moving on to the stormwater fund, we have $100,000 of interest, and this goes along with that previous comment I made about the interest revenue within the capital projects fund. We've spent a large portion of those stormwater funds that were associated with the bond, and so we're budgeting a decrease in that interest revenue as a result. The stormwater utility fee of $1.1 million, personnel costs of $179, operations of $300, and then we have a couple stormwater projects, which is the last of those bond proceeds for $720,000, waterways, curb and gutter for $841, and then debt service of $670. And you'll notice we have a pretty significant use of fund balance of $1.4 million. That's the bond proceeds being spent down. Any questions? Thank you.
No questions for Christian? Okay. All right, thanks, Christian. We'll go ahead then and open up the public hearing. Anybody that wishes to address the council on the tentative or on the proposed fiscal year budget for 2025-2026. Okay, as Christian made reference a number of times to changes that are going to be made that he's going to review in the work meeting. And based on that, I'm going to keep this public hearing open only because I think that from a transparency standpoint, what has been posted on the agenda is the tentative budget from, I think it was May 2nd, whatever that date was, the first council meeting in May. And since there's going to be a number of changes to that tentative budget, I think it would only be appropriate to leave the public hearing open in case residents want to view what we're finally going to be voting on next week and make comment on that either over the course of the week or come to council meeting next week and make comment before we actually close the public hearing. And also for council, you still got another week to review again, these are the highlights from the tentative budget. If there are things in the budget as you go through it finally this week and you want to make any recommendations or changes, we still have time to do that, so I would encourage you to do that. Okay, and with that, we'll move to item number 6 then. That public hearing remains open, but we'll move to the public hearing on proposed changes to the city's compensation schedule for the city's elected, appointed, and statutory officers, including executive municipal officers and other municipal officers for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. This is a legislative requirement that's been passed down to the city. So what you see in the packet is what is required, which we reviewed again in the prior meeting. Any questions or comments from council before we open up the public hearing? There being none, we'll open up the public hearing. Anybody wish to address the council on this agenda item? There being none, we'll close this public hearing and move to item number 7, the consent agenda, approval of minutes from April 17th, May 1st, May 8th, May 15th. Would anybody like to make a motion with the changes that we discussed in the prior work session?
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we approve minutes from April 17th, May 1st, 8th, and 15th with the changes that we discussed in the prior meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Thank you, council. Move to item number 8, the city manager report. Gina, you can take it from here.
Nothing to add to the hazard mitigation plan from our previous discussion in the meeting, but would look for the council to take action on that item on next week's agenda. And then I will cede the rest of my time to Christian to provide a financial report through April.
Okay, this is in your packet if the council wants to follow along, or up on your screen.
Stephanie, would you mind zooming out just a little bit? I just want to capture the column on the far right. Okay, well, we'll figure it out. Okay, so this first page is just a citywide summary of revenue. This is taking into account all the funds within the city. There are just a few specific line items that I wanted to call attention to. The first being the first line, which is the general fund tax line. And if you'll notice, we've used 84% we've collected 84% of the budget year to date. But if you compare it to the column on the far right, you'll see that we're at 107.9% of the prior year's budget. So we're quite a bit ahead of where we were last year. And that's primarily due to the property tax increase that we went through. And then licenses and permits, you'll notice we're quite a bit ahead of where we were last year at 157%. This is largely due to just one or two extremely large projects that resulted in high building permit fees and plan check fees and those specific line items that can be pretty volatile and just 1 year specific. Next line item is intergovernmental revenue that I want to call your attention to. It's the third line. You'll notice that we've collected 139% compared to the prior year to date. And those are primarily road funds. So those are funds that we just received from the state and other tax commissions for roads specifically. Those are transfers in that just happen in full during the year. So, and then the last thing I specifically wanted to mention is the very bottom of this table. You'll notice that we've collected 109% compared to the prior year in the very bottom right there. And then we're at 69% of the total year's budget. So we're trending very well compared to last year, a little bit ahead. Just want to point that out. So it's great. This next page is just a more specific drill down information on that tax line specifically. The first thing I want to call attention to is the sales tax line. You'll notice that we've collected, again, going to that far right column next to that one, you'll see that we've collected 98.6% compared to last year. So we're slightly behind last year in sales tax, but sales tax can be pretty volatile in terms of when we receive it. So it's nothing too concerning. We're pretty much on track with where we were last year. So number two, just wanted to point out that the franchise tax from cable TV is slightly down from the prior year. We're at about 89%. And this line item specifically has been trending down in recent years, just changes in how people are consuming. So, and then finally, number three, I wanted to point out Dominion Energy, which is one that's been a topic that we've talked about a couple different times with the change to Enbridge and the very warm winter we had this year. So that's just one I wanted to point out specifically that we're decently behind. Moving on to the next page, this is the citywide summary of expenditures, and I'm just going to go specifically look at the individual references. So the first one we have is the city engineer department, and this is part of that budget amendment that we had just approved, where we're increasing the engineering contract slightly, and that should bring that in line and address that issue. The next line is the fire department. We pay them quarterly, and we've paid all 4 quarters for the year, so that's complete. The next one is animal control contract, and that's the same situation, paid quarterly, and we paid for the year. Next is the Arts Fund concert series. We had all those concerts at the beginning of the fiscal year, and so it's been expended for pretty much the whole year. Next is the Capital Projects Fund's vehicle budget. We've spent 100% of it. That was for a mini excavator for the Parks Department. Number 5, this is the Maintenance Fund. This is the annual fire hydrant maintenance contract that we have, and that's been paid in full. And then finally, we have the Debt Service Fund. We have one more payment for debt service for the year, and then we'll be at 100% on that line as well. Okay. Moving on to the Arts Fund, and I wanted to call this fund out specifically. This page is hard to use right now, and it's hard to get a lot of information out of that, and it's been an issue that Megan and I have been working on addressing in the fiscal year 26 budget, sort of working on restructuring that chart of accounts to make it a little more user-friendly and so we can get a little more information out of it. But I just wanted to mention quickly, looking at, if you'll notice, we have it split by admin, then we have Blue Moon, then we have Fine Art, then Plan Air, then the concert series. Each of those individual events are under their budget for the year. Again, this statement is kind of hard to use, and it's something we're working on addressing in 26. Okay, moving on to the Grants Fund, just 2 specific things I wanted to call out. We have a UDOT project that is Highland Drive to Spring Lane to Far Down Ave, and that's, Jared had told me that that's about 60% complete of the design of that project, and that is a grant-funded item. And then we have a UDOT project that is for the 5600 South Bridge, and that one is complete. So, moving on to the Cottonwood Mall RDA, just one specific thing I wanted to call out here. If you look at that very first line, the tax increment monies, you'll notice that we are at a 145% of last year. So, and we're at $347,000 total for the year. And we have received our final distribution for tax increment for this RDA. So it is trending up, which is really great news. Okay, moving on to the Holladay Village. This is the other side of the coin. This one actually, in fiscal year 23, we had seen, we're looking at that tax increment line again. We had received $853,000 worth of tax increment in 23. In 24, we received $993,000, and now current year to date, we've received $919,000. So we saw a pretty significant increase in 24, and then we've come back down a little bit in 25. Which is less good. All right, next page. Looking at the Capital Projects Fund, this is, I'm just going to go through those references again. Number 1, that's the mini excavator that I previously mentioned in the summary. The fire hydrant maintenance is number 2, which I previously mentioned. Number 3, I haven't previously mentioned, that is the crosswalk upgrades in the village, which was a project we did pretty early in fiscal year 25, which is complete. And then finally, number 4 is bond paving projects. We had completed what we intended to do for bond paving projects in 2025, and so the excess budget that was there ended up getting transferred to a different project and as part of one of the previous budget amendments. I believe it was for bridge repairs, if I remember correctly. Next is the debt service fund. This one is fairly standard. We make 2 debt service payments a year. We've made the first one, and then we'll make the last one, and we'll take all these expenses to 100%. And the transfers in will be done next month. So that should all be 100% next budget actual you see. All right, and so finally we have the stormwater fund. Just 5 quick things I want to point out here, and they're all bond projects specifically. If you look on the far left here, you'll see the 55,700 line items. Those are all bond projects, and you can see a large portion of those are now complete. Number 3 specifically was part of the budget amendment where we decreased our contingency budget and increased that line item. So once that budget amendment's entered, they should all be under budget and in line. And big shout out to Jared on getting so many of those projects complete this year. Is great. So any questions?
Question for, I think, Gina. I think we've talked about this once before, and it had to do with the municipal energy taxes at Holladay Hills and whether or not those taxes that they would pay on all the energy they're using there, their construction projects, would roll back into their RDA like the property tax increment and sales tax increment. Does the MET, does that get gathered up as if it's sales tax, or do we get that?
My understanding is that MET is not addressed in the ADL. That is something I'm going to be doing a separate presentation on our agreement with the developer next week, as the council had requested in your retreat. My recollection is that MET is not included, so 100% of that would come to the city.
Okay. And I don't know if it's even a material amount or not. But
I have, if you go to, I believe it was the second page, I have a line for municipal energy tax. It's a pretty small line item in general for us. It looks like it's, sorry.
Is it on the same page like the franchise tax for TV,
Yeah.
the beauty telephone tax, and the
Yeah.
franchise tax for Dominion Rocky? That's where I think it'd be the franchise tax
Yeah.
for Dominion Rocky Mountain, or energy sales use tax.
Yeah.
So it's just that little $4,000. That's remaining budget.
I think it's the gas and the power.
Yeah. But we get all that increase from all that activity. As opposed to not rolling it in RDA.
I think it would be difficult for us to separate that out because we don't get a line by line itemization. And so I don't know that we could account for it and what's from that project area versus what's from the rest of the city. And then we've got, as Christian was mentioning, lots of other changes.
So first they have to know what it is and ask for it, but we wouldn't just be rolling it into their automatically from whatever they get assessed on their bill.
Right. No,
Gotcha.
It's separate.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else for Christian? Good.
One last comment, and it came from our meeting over there, where we talked about that $1 million we were going to transfer to capital projects in order to avoid the 35%. It was not that long ago, if I'm thinking of this correctly, where we'd only spend maybe $750,000 total for the year on roads because it was always the last available dollars. And so now, while we now are at the end of the year able to transfer an extra $1 million for that purpose, that's quite a change in terms of our long-term financial sustainability for maintaining our city's assets. So kudos to you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I won't take credit for that, but you're right. No, outside of the BNC road funds, and I brought this up a few times here, we have the BNC that we'd use to go towards county contract, but outside of that, I think one year we spent $250,000 total on roads and curb and gutter and storm drain. That's how depleted our budget was. So, yeah, we're doing better. Thanks, Christian. Thanks. Okay, that wraps up item number 8. We'll go to council reports. Emily, why don't we start with you and we'll work our way down the line.
Just a couple of quick things. Let me get my notes here. The first, and I think I've mentioned this before, but just a reminder that the job posting for general manager of Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling is live. They're seeking applicants right now. There are some big shoes to fill in that position. We're hoping to get some strong applicants. And I also just wanted to thank Holly and Jared, neither of whom are here. They set up a chance for members of the council to go and visit all of the city parks in the city, a number of which I wasn't even aware of, several of the pocket parks that we own and maintain. And I was incredibly impressed with the work of our parks department and how well those are maintained and how much they're used and loved by our community. It was also exciting to go over to Spring Lane and see the demolition has started there, and hopefully we will get that lease agreement soon. I know people are working on that, and so that's just an update.
I know that road construction isn't anyone's favorite thing, but I was really excited to see that the construction on sidewalks on 45th South on the north side from the park, Olympus Hills Park, down till two blocks down. So that's a big step forward for us. So thanks to Jared and his crew and getting, it'll be fun to have that finished. I wanted to touch also on the Granite District situation with the boundary study. There is a committee that was formed with representatives from all the schools and the cities that are in the boundary study area, including Holladay, and Ty and Matt and I have been to those. The last meeting, a representative of each school got up and talked about what made their school special, and what I learned that every single one of the elementary schools is wonderful, and it's going to be a really hard decision for the district to decide which ones of those they are going to close. Initially, the district said that they would release a list of schools that are not under consideration for closing by June, by this meeting, but now they're saying no, that list will not be released until September. So I was a little bit disappointed in that, but this committee will reconvene in August, right before school gets out.
Okay.
Could you remind me, Gina, the current status of our ground lease negotiations? That signed or still in the works?
It is still in the works. I would say we have made significant progress in the last 2 weeks. I feel like our last negotiation went very well, and I anticipate that there will be a document before you in the same 2-month period that I promised at the beginning of this last September. So hopefully by August or September.
Is it okay to ask, is the start date the same, or was that a typo, or are we still looking at
What we have proposed is, I believe it was in error, that the lease would start in July of 2026. We have proposed January of 26, so kind of
split the difference?
Splitting the difference, yep.
That's great. Okay. Also, I don't know about the rest of your districts. Mine's got a lot of stormwater work that I'm very grateful for. I think our citizens, at least in my district, are happy as clams, I think, about it. So hopefully your district is experiencing the same sorts of fun with stormwater drain stuff going on. Great. Also, I had a friend of mine blow out his tire on a pothole on Highland Drive, and he let me know, and I talked to Jared, and it was done within a few hours by the end of the day. He had called the county, but apparently Jared's got some juice with those guys because he laid down the law with them, and they came out and had it done within a couple hours. And they laid it down. They did. And then lastly, tomorrow is the Holladay Arts Page to Stage production. It's a children's theater that they put together in is it a 2-week stretch or a 1-week stretch? A 1-week stretch. And so I helped out a little this morning with some cat herding. And then tomorrow we'll put on the show. So it's at 11:30, is that correct? 11:30? I have to be there at 11:15 as I recall. Okay, that's all I have. Downstairs.
I just wanted to mention that the tree giveaway happened on May 17th. We gave away 250 trees. It was generally a pretty successful event as usual, and thank the tree committee for all their hard work on pulling that together. Happy Healthy Holiday had recently a mental health night that was attended by 20 or 30 people and talked about mental health issues and the clean air issues primarily in our community. They're also going to be having a meeting of what they're calling their key leaders for the group. There'll be an orientation on the 24th of June, and that'll be the kind of the final step in putting together this community that cares model implementation. And then I think Megan will probably talk about some collaborative efforts between Happy Healthy Holiday and the Arts Council that are kind of exciting, but I won't steal our thunder. And then I think you all saw the email about fireworks. I tried to point out the challenges that accompany enforcing our fireworks ordinances, but I'm going to try and talk with Chief Hoyle and Lieutenant Ackerman and just see what we can do about that. The residents seem to identify an area where she thinks there was a lot of firework activity going on illegally. Maybe we can talk about that. That's all I have.
Was it the pothole that was right in front of the Greek Orthodox Church on Highland Drive? The pothole on Highland Drive.
In front of the entrance to the south parking lot.
Yeah. It was like it looked like it was cut in the almost. Anyways, I reported that too personally on the iWork deal, on the city website, which is good practice. I don't know how it sends, if I select it as my district, then it sends you an email and it shows you all that. So you're going to notice, but yes, it was bad. And then I did just want to follow up because two things I just wanted to mention with what Councilmember Durham was just discussing on fireworks. This question of enforcement is a big deal. Not only with fireworks, but also we had the discussion over electric vehicles a couple months ago, and with school getting out, and with seems like there's like a 4-fold increase in the prevalence of scooters and one wheels and electric dirt bikes or electric motorcycles and pedal assist. And I've had many discussions with parents. I've known who kids were. I've called parents, and I would refer you all to my council corner message that I think it was the beginning of May. It was when I did. But I just wanted to plant a seed in all of, for all of you. I think it's a discussion that really warrants a close look and somehow us collaborating and figuring out some way, both on the enforcement side to do something more than what there is, as well as on the education side. And I would love to see a robust education opportunity, even, this is the hard part, even though that I know that there will be kids that break the law, but I think that we need to figure out some type of an outreach or opportunity to communicate with those that will be doing it and help educate in ways to safely do it either way. Because I think we will have a tragic occurrence at some point or another if these kids aren't more safe, I guess. So that The other, as far as, it's been interesting, I don't know if this has been the same, but as it relates to district reports, I'm surprised at the number of calls I've had recently related to zoning changes or things related to John's department in the end, and it's been interesting. I want to express my thanks to Carrie and to John, and hopefully, as I've corresponded with constituents, hopefully we can, I guess, just help represent ourselves in a way that's impartial to any one party, and where we're looking at the law and what the law allows for. And I think that our staff is doing a good job with that. And I really appreciate John's leadership, especially in that department, and the tone that he sets with them and how they correspond with with residents of the city. And then finally, the Rooted Together project. And I forget if Holly had mentioned this, but she did just send out an email just recently. October 20th is when they're targeting for the ribbon cutting ceremony. The fabrication will begin during this month of June. After the 4th of July event is when the construction will actually start taking place. But it's exciting to have it. It's a substantial project that'll be underway over these coming months, and I think it'll be a nice feature to add here to the city property, and so that's underway. That's all I've got.
Right, thanks. I just want to echo on that. I know we went through the ordinance on the vehicles and whatnot, and I think it's scheduled to go into place July 1st, but since that time, it just seems like there's a lot of this going on, and so we may want to get with Chief Hoyle, and I know he had talked about maybe doing a video, but maybe brainstorm, even if it's just a couple of us getting together, of how we could get some education material out into the community, especially to parents, about what's legal and not legal, and liability issues and safety issues, because it seems to be something that is expanding rapidly in terms of what we're seeing, the kinds of vehicles we're seeing out on our arterials, and this age of the kids that are driving them is a real concern. So I echo your concern about that, and think we ought to follow up and see if we can put our heads together and figure out a way to get some sort of educational material out into the community on that.
And Mayor, if
Yeah.
I could just add briefly, that's something that Chief Hoyle and I discussed today and last week with you as well. And we are anticipating both social media and then using our other communication channels as providing as much information as we can in advance of the implementation of the ordinance that you just passed on July 1st. And that will be a combined effort with UPD's Public Information Office and with our own communications folks.
Yeah, and maybe they'd be a great asset too, because it's everybody that's experiencing this. So maybe UPD could get behind the effort, something they could circulate,
I'm wondering if there's a way that we could communicate or partner with the schools and send information out through the school channels as well, because most schools now send out emails weekly to parents, and so I don't know the ages of the kids, but I think that's something that most parents are checking and seeing, and that feels like a good way to get that information out as
Yeah,
well.
I'm sure we could link up with the Granite School District PIO, and I'm sure they have a communication network. But yeah, I just think, yeah, it's a issue.
I've got some ideas on it too. I'd love to be part of that discussion, I guess, when it comes up this time. Yeah.
Imagine maybe including an auto insurance agent in that. It was when your kid crashes into someone else in their golf cart, your auto insurance isn't going to cover you.
Okay. Gosh, I can't think of anything else right now. So I think what we need to do is take a motion to recess to RDA.
Mr. Mayor, that we recess the council meeting and reconvene in an RDA board meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. And we are recessed, and I'll throw the gavel down to our RDA chair.
Let's see, our RDA agenda. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Board of Directors meeting of the City of Holladay Redevelopment Agency, and would like to open the floor to anybody that might be here for the public hearing on proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. I believe it's on pages 52 to 56 of the budget. Seeing nobody here, there's no reason to leave this open like you did the last one, right, Mayor? Well, can we close, or do we need to?
I don't think the RDA budget's going to change, so I would.
So we'll close the public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. We don't have any other business that I'm aware of.
And if Mr. Chair, I move we adjourn RDA meeting and reconvene in a work session across the hall.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Good job. Meeting adjourned. Do we have a vice chair, or am I going to be here next week? Because it'll be, the approval will happen as the budget is. What's that?
He's usually the vice chair.
Is he?
Catch everything. Okay, go ahead.
Lovely. You didn't give me the finger, see? I was waiting. Thank you. Let me first begin by thanking you for this opportunity. Also, thank you for approving our new part-time clerk, Claudia, who the Mayor mentioned. She just started on Monday, and she's going to be a welcome addition because she provides some relief to our three clerks who are in the court as well. And as the Mayor pointed out, she is also Spanish-speaking, and over the last couple of years, we've seen an increase in the Spanish-speaking population, not just defendants, but even in the small claims arena. And our small claims caseload has increased since Mill Creek has joined us.
More than double.
Significantly. And so it's doubled our small claims load in terms of trials and processing and applications. We sent Gina, and didn't provide it in advance, but our numbers in citations have increased since Mill Creek has joined us last year. And we're averaging between 700, but at least over 550 on a regular basis in terms of the citation and the distribution. Mill Creek by far has also added to our budget because they have a greater non-English speaking population. And we've seen a significant increase in domestic violence cases in Mill Creek, even Cottonwood Heights and Holladay. Additionally, because of the non-English speaking population, the cases lag a little longer because of the number of times we have to bring Kinyarwanda, Swahili, not just the basic European languages, but African languages, which are not common in Utah. And we cannot find an interpreter in Utah. And the interpreter rule now requires a 2-hour minimum, even if they're there for 5 minutes. And when the defendant fails to appear, we pay them for 2 hours. So I'm considering how to consider that. We have individuals who are incarcerated with multiple cases out of Mill Creek, for example, but we've had to use interpreter on top of it. So again, thank you for the addition. I will note briefly as well that when I pulled the data on the revenue through last year, that fiscal year, the grand total revenue, according to the data from our core computer system, was $1,148,414.28. Through May of this year, it's $1,233,369.28. You don't have that data because I failed to provide it to Gina well in advance to distribute to you. Again, I didn't want to bore you with too much to add to your workload. So you can see how things have increased. I should point out that in terms of we tried to recoup the public defender fees that are assessed, and we have a greater, I'm still seeing a greater number of indigents, again with Mill Creek coming on board, but thus far, through May, we have recouped, and this would include past cases, $15,606.30 for attorney's fees. and that would not necessarily be reflected in Christian's data, but this is what I order in terms of recruitment, and if they pay it, then it goes into budget. So, thank you. That's all the data I have. And I have to say, Kaylin is a wonderful administrator. She keeps things rolling and keeps everything up to date. So I greatly appreciate the fact that I have a court administrator who keeps everything going, is on top of everything. So thank you. Any questions of us, please?
Question either for the judge or Christian or Gina. How do we feel about, given the increased activity from our neighbors, how do we feel about our formula for cost allocation and revenue collection?
You're ahead of Gina's ahead of you on that. There's already discussion underway about taking a look at that issue. And Gina and Kaylin and other minds are putting that together. So they're thought ahead of that because of that.
Yeah, that was a concern we had when we decided to take Mill Creek on, is we had questions about what they were reporting in terms of their cases, and we're aware that we'd have to go through a year and get actuals to see what the impacts were going to be, which sounds significant.
It's not just the cases, it's the nature of the cases.
Yeah.
Right. That makes the demand as well.
So
they definitely have a higher criminal caseload versus a traffic caseload, so a traffic case is definitely going to take less time than a criminal case. So their criminal caseload is significantly higher than the other two cities.
And that's where they require the court.
So just one quick question before you leave, Judge. Again, could you tell me your revenue through April again?
Through May of this year.
May, 1.2.
Probably need to bring up the balance for city limits.
Right. Prior to what we dispersed to the state. This is just the computer data as to what was brought into the court, which is $1,233,369.28. Gina has a copy of it.
Okay.
Yeah. And so just for clarification, that will not match Christian's numbers because we net out the surcharge that we pay to the state,
correct,
which is significant.
It averages probably what we pay out to the state, I would say, and correct me, Christian, anywhere from like a 37 to about 42,000 monthly is what the state takes a chunk of it, to be honest. So they take about 37. Would you say that's accurate? About 37 to about 42,000 a month is what is sent to the state.
That's what you collect in fees from guilty parties, as it were?
Correct. Fines, whether it's from a
even the court filing fees.
And these are just essentially like a state tax on these revenues?
They're surcharges that are collected, exactly, that go so like on an average, if we brought in about 110,000 in a month in revenue, the state is going to take about 40,000 of that money.
Think about Tony Soprano.
There's a chart.
There's
a chart that I think we presented a couple of years ago that Gina can share with you that gives the mandatory breakdown of whatever comes in. And I know the municipal authorities have tried over the years to try and negotiate. And from what I've heard in the grapevines, they're not budgeting.
But so things like the translator fee, for example, or interpreter fee, is that a pass on to somebody that's been, is it only if there's a conviction or something, or is it?
No, it's a court expense.
It is a court expense.
I have discretion of how I can assess if someone abuses it and doesn't show up. And so there are things I can do, but I have to still consider the legal aspect of fairness and also whether or not they're indigent, etc. So there are things that I try to take into account.
More revenue than expected, actually.
If I could circle back to your question about allocation methods for just a second. So we have been looking at a couple of different changes. Right now we just share based on cases resolved during any month and then look at a total for over the year. We're looking at, we've looked at a couple of different options, like could we do a weighted formula
that you're probably familiar with from other kinds of organizations where we might weight the criminal cases more heavily. It does create a little bit of administrative burden on our end. And we talked about that with our partners. There was, I'd say, some discomfort with complicating the system. So something else that we might look at and discuss with both Mill Creek and Cottonwood Heights is, could we just have like basically our shared services, which would be our fixed court costs, and then beyond that, for those variable costs like the prosecution and public defender and even translators, that would be paid directly by those communities rather than all coming through our court. Those are just a couple of the ideas that we're talking about.
Sounds very fair.
So our 1.22 budget is close.
Close.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. Is,
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you for all your stuff.
Okay.
We'll depart.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Caitlin. Thanks, Judge. Appreciate it.
Just go back to the start stuff here. Do we want to start with non-departmental?
Pardon me.
Okay. If you've looked in your packet, you may notice that a few of these line items are actually different than what was in your packet, and those items are highlighted in yellow here. And these are just changes that have actually come in this morning. So this is very much a live document right now. We're still working on getting everything finalized. But the first thing I wanted to call attention to is that very first line, property tax. If you've looked in your packet, you will have seen that the increase we had in the original packet was an increase of around $238,000, and that was based off the number that I had received from the certified, from the tax commission, the certified tax rate website, and that changed this morning. So our new growth went down. They had previously had it at $271,000, and this morning it was taken down to $81,000. So they're also still trying to finalize on their end, but it's a little disappointing. I got real excited because I thought we were going to get an awesome increase, but that didn't end up happening. And then just one more thing I wanted to just reiterate, the property tax system in general. So if everyone in the community's value of their property increased at the same rate, and then the property tax, certified tax rate came down, everyone would pay the same exact amount as the prior year. But that's not actually what happens. Some properties value increase more, some increase less, some decrease. And so what happens as a result of that, even though we're not increasing property taxes, certain properties may see an increase in the property tax bill. So the amount the city is receiving is the same, but the amount the citizens are paying can change based off of how their value changed.
I understand the other thing that can happen is typically residential real estate does move across the tax district similarly. And historically, commercial properties tend to go up more, but then of late, residential properties have been increasing at a higher rate than commercial properties, and that difference in rate of change between residential and commercial is what can cause a resident's property taxes to, they're absorbing more of the burden than the commercial.
Yes, and to go along with that specifically, the average home value in Holladay this year is all the way up to $1,028,000, which is an 8.3% increase over last year. And comparing that to the rest of the county, which increased by 5.6%. So we've increased at a greater rate than the rest of the county as well.
Can you clarify just one second? Because I know Gina talked about this before, but can you clarify, like, what is the boundary that certain properties would be in? What's that called? Like, it's a tax district?
Taxing district.
Tax district?
And Holladay is its own tax district, right?
So there are I think there might be certain areas.
Certain slivers in the south.
Yeah, and even in the area that I live in, because I'm served by Jordan Valley Water and they have a property tax, they assess property tax. So we might have 2 or 3, but not hundreds.
But we
But for our
would
own
just
city.
be compared in our, the properties would only be evaluated in that district, right? Not across the county. Like, if our area went up 8.5%, you said the county's 5.6,
yeah.
We're not absorbing more, well, at least not for the city of Holladay, but perhaps for the other jurisdictions, right?
Right.
As we're absorbing more of the county taxes in the county library, if we go up higher than those.
But not the city
But not
taxes.
the
Oh,
city.
that's
So
right.
it's more
yeah.
complicated. Yeah, because the Holladay piece would be equal in that tax district, but the other taxing entities, it's going to be countywide. And so if your rate is increasing faster than Draper, you're going to absorb more of the library, mosquito abatement, and Salt Lake County. Interesting.
Yeah, and a school district.
It's just way more complicated than oh, your property can't go up if your value goes up. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. I think that's everything I wanted to cover on property tax. Moving down to the next line, this is the franchise tax for Dominion. We had previously budgeted it at $700,000, which was a $200,000 decrease from the prior year. In the final budget, we're planning to increase that up to $800,000. Just as we've gotten some more of those payments in, it's looking like that's about where we're going to end up. This year being such a significant change over the prior years, it's kind of hard to estimate where we're going to end up. But that is the best guess as of today.
So why does it change
Yeah.
between the old and the new owner?
That's a great
and-
question, and that's something that Gina and Jared had been looking at, and I think their rate structure was just different, and they're charging certain users less, and I'm not sure why they decided that.
And those were reductions that were approved by the Public Services Commission last June. But that may change, and then usage is the other big variable.
Right.
Thanks.
Yep. And then justice court fines and forfeitures were increasing by $150,000. And the difference here, I've talked to the mayor about this. We had seen an increase in the number of and the dollar amount of fines and forfeitures that's been collected from Mill Creek specifically, and that had resulted in me reducing because the portion that they reimburse us for is based off of their deficit. And in previous years, they've had a deficit, and this year we've seen an increased amount of revenue that they've generated, which reduced that deficit. So I reduced the amount we planned to receive from them. But what I didn't do was increase the amount we expected from fines and forfeitures. So I decreased one side, but didn't increase the other. So this is just an adjustment to bring that back in line. Next, we have the Spring Lane rental revenue. That's assuming Spring Lane gets off the ground and we're able to start renting it out. We just added a little bit of budget for that. Next, we have the Central Wasatch Commission. We didn't previously budget that, but we've added it at $25,000, which I think the council had expressed interest in being part of that. And then the next is the public defender line item, which I think Gina specifically wanted to talk about that one.
I did, yes. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you discussed this at all across the hall, but if you didn't.
I don't think so.
Okay. So we have a contract with a public defense firm, and the way the contract has been literally since they've been providing us this service is that it is $150 a case in some case. So that hasn't increased in 20 years. And basically, they were making that work through volume increases. With the addition of Mill Creek and with just general inflationary pressure, that is no longer working for our public defender. And yesterday they approached me about increasing that fee structure from $150 to $200 per case. This is, and I have given a heads up to our partner cities. Feel like if we haven't increased a case fee structure in 20-ish years, probably should do that. It's probably time. And so what we've included here is a placeholder. We really haven't done much other than estimated what those cases were per year and made a simple addition. we expect that would adjust on the revenue side as well with either increases in fines and forfeitures or payments from those cities, but we haven't adjusted the revenue side yet.
Thanks, Gina.
Seems odd to have big fine days, because how do you know how much time you're going to spend on it? Does it just average out so they're comfortable with it?
And that is, yes, that's what they do. There are a couple of other, if the case returns, so that is, the 200 is automatic when a case is assigned. If they return again, there's another fee that's associated with that. And then if the case goes to trial, we pay that fee separately as well. So there's an hourly trial.
So it's basically eating it.
It is.
Okay. The next line is UPD. The tentative budget had it 8.12 million. Since then, there were a few changes on the UPD side, which caused those costs to increase. The mayor and Gina met with UPD and discussed using a portion of the precinct fund balance, about 100,000, which is what I think they had anticipated would be expenditures they're not going to expend in fiscal year 25. So the intent is to just use that fund balance in 26 to help offset those increases that we saw to their contract. So we had increases, and then we had the use of that fund balance, which ended us with a decrease of 31,000 in that contract. Next, we have the Salt Lake County contract. We had an increase of 12,000. I can't remember the exact details of this. I believe there was a specific project they wanted to add. I can pull those if the council's interested, but it was a relatively minor increase of about 12,000. Next, we have the parks outside contracts. We're increasing that by 26,000. That was budget that had been previously allocated for our seasonal workers, which the mayor had expressed interest in potentially looking at contracted services that would come in maybe once a year to help improve in the springtime. So that's something that we added. Next, we have the metal banners, which I believe the council had expressed interest in adding. The Christmas tree lighting in the village, that was the one that Emily had mentioned during the meeting. We decreased in fiscal year 25, and we're increasing in 26 for the purchase of that tree for the village. Next, we have the Christmas decorations, and that's sort of going along the same conversation. We are increasing the lighting capabilities in the village for just the trees that are in the village, and we're just adding 5,000 with the anticipation that it would be more expensive to light those trees once we add them. And then the transfer to capital projects. There are two pieces to this increase. It's a $300,000 increase. 100,000 is for the electrical work in the village for the tree lighting, and then 200,000 is the increase for pavement maintenance and pavement improvements within the capital projects that the mayor had expressed interest in us doing. And then finally, we have a change in our contribution to fund balance. We had originally budgeted 403,000, and we are now budgeting $304,000 contribution to fund balance after all those changes. And that's it for the general fund. Were there any questions on the general fund before I continue on?
So these are the changes that will be applied to the tentative budget that will actually vote next week. So if anybody has any other things they want to take a look at between now and then, get with Gina and Christian on it so we can include it in the final budget we post for approval.
We have the change to the tree committee, which isn't reflected here, but I will add in the final version. And then moving on to the capital projects fund, we have an increase in the transfer from the general fund. It's just the other side of that $300,000. We have a increase in the bridge repairs budget. These are bond proceeds, which this will be the last of the bond projects finishing up in those bridge repairs. And that's a result of some timing differences and wrapping up a few of those projects that are near the end of fiscal year 25. And then paving projects, that's the increase of 200,000, and then the village lighting. Okay, moving on to the stormwater fund. These two changes on the expense side are both bond projects, which we're looking like we originally thought we'd be completing in fiscal year 25, but we're now moving to 26, and this will be the last of the bond proceeds for the stormwater fund as well. Any questions on those changes since the tentative? So this next slide is just our committee and our commission. So first of all, the tree committee, this one's changing. It's going from 35,000 and it's going to be 3,500 once I make that adjustment. And that's, as previously mentioned, it was a tree giveaway this year, and next fiscal year it won't be one. Next we have the historical commission. It's going from $9,500 of budget to $11,000, and they're just requesting that increase for some additional artifact handling care and some ribbon cutting costs. So that's it for those. And then the arts fund. So this is the one that I had previously mentioned. We're working on restructuring the chart of accounts. I don't know if you can remember from the previous presentation I gave with the Arts Council. It's kind of hard. It was kind of difficult to use that information. So what we're trying to do is to move to this graph or this table on the left. So rather than having it budgeted based off of the individual events, it's going to be based off of type of expense. And when Megan and I are preparing the budget for the Arts Fund, we're still going to be budgeting looking at what those individual events cost, but as it's reflected within the accounting system, to make it easier to compare year to year when events change, we're going to have it in the type of expense. And just for this fiscal year, this is what we're anticipating for the budget for fiscal year 26. Let me scroll down a little bit. You can see in 2025 we had budgeted $276,000 worth of expense. In 2026 we're having a slight decrease of about $10,000. And one thing I specifically wanted to call out, as Gina had mentioned, was a priority of the council, is to make sure that the Arts Fund is about 50% funded by the general fund, which is about where we're looking at here. We have about $138,000 worth of transfer from the general fund and about a $266,000 budget, so we're roughly in that neighborhood. Okay, and then
figure out that special project entry in 2025.
I have not had a chance to look at that. I will make a note of it and I'll send you an
You know
email.
what that would be, Megan, by chance?
A whole host of things, a lot of different things.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we have to pull.
Well, no, I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't need to know what that is. I was just, I was telling Christian, I was just kind of shocked that our budget was $10,000 less after bringing in the theater company. I thought it would be a lot more, and that's where it is. So as long as that stuff that's in there we don't need, I guess.
I think I can tell you. I think it is our, it was our use of fund balance for the public art consultant, and then we had a placeholder for some public art.
So the village project, there was some expense there that we're not.
So we had planned for that expense. We have way less for the consultants in fiscal 25.
No, I think this is great.
We may end up with some more in 26.
I think creative aging is there too.
I was anticipating the budget
Also,
being.
creative aging and special projects, we got grant for this past year.
Yeah, and then one other thing the mayor asked me to call out is specifically the fund balance within the Arts Fund. Within our overall financial statements that get audited at the end of the year, the Arts Fund rolls into the general fund, but specifically within our accounting system, we have them have their own fund and their own fund balance. And in fiscal year 24, they had $172,000 worth of fund balance, and just estimating what's going to happen in fiscal year 25, it's looking like there will be a slight contribution to fund balance. I'm estimating it'll be about 20,000, but that's just a rough estimate at this point. So they, current year to date, they are looking at having a contribution to fund balance. So,
Christian, I'm perfectly fine with converting to the the stuff on the left for ongoing budgetary comparison, that sort of thing. But operationally, anything we need, the activity-based sort of.
We'll still hold that on the back end.
Yeah. So we're not abandoning that,
No.
at least for operational.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just what we report to grants.
Yeah.
So I have to pull it up this way anyway, whenever I write a grant. This will help a lot.
Perfect. Okay, anything else on Arts Fund?
Just that we get a whole lot of bang for those bucks.
Yeah, we do. Okay, Justice Court. Specifically here, I just wanted to point out how we've increased over the last couple of years. We went from about just under $800,000 worth of budget, and I believe this year we're at about 1.2 million. So we're definitely filling those increases from Mill Creek in terms of cost. Go to the next slide. And these are the changes from the tentative budget, or excuse me, from the fiscal year 2025 budget to the final fiscal year 2026 budget. And this line item that's highlighted in yellow was a change that happened since your packet was distributed to you, so I just wanted to call out that that was a specific change. And that was associated with the public defender line, which we've discussed already. We also have an increase in personnel costs of about $58,000. Included in that is the 3% COLA increase, increases to health insurance, and also our part-time clerk position, which is going to have a full year of being here rather than just the last couple months of the year. And then we have an increase to equipment, supplies, and maintenance. That is for additional equipment for our new person in the courts. And then the last major thing I wanted to call out was the bailiff specifically. In previous fiscal years, we have split the cost of the bailiff between just the public safety department and the court department at a 75-25 split. And this year, just to reflect the fact that, you know, so much of the bailiff's time is spent in the court, we're increasing that to be 80-20 to just be a little more reflective of reality. And then we also have an increase in the translator fees of $3,000. Again, that's just associated with those additional caseload as a result of Mill Creek being brought on. Any questions on these?
Bottom line is we're still looking at a break even.
Yeah, and if we are in a situation where we're not breaking even, a portion of that is going to be reimbursed from our partners in Mill Creek and Conway Heights.
Yeah, more important isn't the break even as much as that there's appropriate allocation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And cost coverage, sharing, having that responsibility at it.
Which is again, Gina and Kaylin and myself are working on trying to develop a cleaner way of splitting those costs.
Yeah, I don't know if the courts necessarily are going to be a.
Yeah, our big concern when we did this was this transition with bringing Mill Creek on board, and what kind of impact that was going to have, and are we going to overtax our staff? I mean, Gina, do you think with the addition of Claudia that they're in a good spot right now, or do you still have concerns that we're overtaxing them, or?
Yeah, I think the new position will certainly help. In terms of efficiency, I took a look at the request of Cottonwood Heights at staffing levels in similar justice courts, and looking at that, even with the addition of Claudia, we are still we are very efficiently using our staff. Many other courts staff at a ratio that's closer to 5 or 6, or in some cases 7 judicial assistants to one judge. And at 3.5, I think we're doing a really good job. Could a court always use more help? I think if you had asked that question to the judge, she would have said yes, absolutely. But I think staffed it this way, they can keep their head above water.
I guess we always have the option that sometime during the year, if this person works out, to convert that to a full-time position.
Okay. I think that's it for me. Any other questions?
Anything for Christian?
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I gave Stephanie a really hard job with the presentation I gave her to pull up, just so you know. It's my fault.
We did it, so we'll see what works out. So we'll run this a second.
Oh, this is a special presentation. You do have cartoons and videos. You know our council well.
And so I'll just say, as Stephanie's pulling this up, that one of the things that I like about how we've been doing the budget the last several years is that we get an opportunity to hear from folks directly. So the budget is not just an endless series of spreadsheets. It's really about how the choices we make impact our programs and our residents. So I'm excited to hear this presentation.
that's what that is.
Yay.
While Stephanie's pulling up the second portion of my presentation, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to present the great work that our arts and culture programs have done over the past fiscal year. And when people ask me what I do for my work, I often say that I do all the fun things that a city does. And it's true, it is fun, but it's also a lot more than just fun. These programs shape our community's identity, influence how people feel about their home, and create space to connect with one another. And I think you've all seen that when you've gone to a concert or whatever you've done with us. Our creative aging was a good example of that. I'll be sharing a lot of numbers with you today, but there will be pictures and videos interspersed. And I just want you to, and I think that's actually a good reminder, like what Gina said, that each of these numbers really represents real people, your friends, your neighbors, and the impact that being a part of this has on them. I am especially grateful to our hardworking committees that I have the pleasure of working with. Our Arts Council and Historical Commission give about 2,150 volunteer hours to our city each year. That's valued at over $71,000. I want to call out a special thanks to our chairs, Eileen Stowe of the Arts Council and Kim Duffy of the Historical Commission. Both lead with vision and generosity, fostering inclusive, collaborative groups, and continue to build on the work of those that came before. I'm going to first talk about the Arts Council. You saw in the video that our mission is to inspire, engage, and unify our community through art by inviting everyone to participate, appreciate, and create art. The video you saw at the beginning is just a very quick summation of the work we've done as an Arts Council, and now I'm going to dive a bit deeper into those programs. We started off the fiscal year. This feels a long time ago, but we started off last fiscal year with our festival and concert season. The summer concert series, in which we do in partnership with Excellence in the Community, drew an estimated 15,290 attendees. We're very excited also for our lineup this year, so we hope you can make it out to some of those concerts. Saturdays, mostly Saturdays, except for July 4th, in July and August. The Blue Moon Festival welcomed about 4,000 people, and a record-breaking 525 attended our Plein Air Plaza Fest, which showed the work of dozens of plein air artists. And for the first time, we partnered with the city's tree lighting event to combine our holiday concert with their event. We brought in Rise Up Children's Choir and had about 450 people in attendance. And I think that was a pretty strong partnership, which we are planning to continue in this coming year. The beginning of this year was packed with back-to-back visual arts programming in February, March, and May. Between these three exhibits, we welcomed 2,001 visitors. We featured 411 artists and displayed 638 pieces. Over 13,500 was paid to artists through our sales. Many of these artists are small business owners who rely on exhibits and galleries to facilitate the sale of their art. So I always like to say that we are supporting local business by doing these shows. And while we're also honored that we have so many professional artists who choose to submit their work to our exhibits, we are equally delighted by the students and the amateurs who are just discovering or rediscovering their creative voice. We had a couple new interesting partnerships. Back on the last slide still. That's okay. That we added this year. We did an indoor concert with Excellence in the Community at the Tiny Art Show opening. Wow. And a new partnership with Courage Theater during our Nature and Nurture exhibit, which was new this year, which featured the work of an up-and-coming local holiday playwright. Now we're in what I call arts education season. We recently wrapped up our creative aging workshop, which united 10 community members age 55 plus in watercolor and creative writing. It's small by design, but incredibly deep and impactful. This is the first time we've had to operate a wait list for the our popular Page to Stage theater camp doubled in size to 34 students thanks to our partnership with Happy Healthy Holladay. Still, the camp filled to capacity within 25 minutes. If we had kept it at its original capacity of 17 students, it would have filled in 3 minutes. We also operated a waitlist for this program. We're running that currently, and our show is tomorrow if you want to stop by at 11:30. We will also close out the year with 2 mindfulness art workshops, which we're doing in partnership with Happy Healthy Holladay. We have contracted with Craft Lake City to provide a perfume mixing workshop and an origami class. Emphasizing the mindfulness aspect of each of these art forms will support both creative expression and protective mental health strategies. A couple of ongoing programs of note. We have hired Cheryl Gilliland as our public art consultant. Our first public art project that we put her to work on was a call for poetry to be engraved on the sidewalk thresholds throughout our history walk. It was done in partnership with the Historical Commission, and we received 36 submissions. Not bad for a call that was open for 2 weeks. Our Artist of the Month program continues to spotlight holiday creatives. We've yet to run out of nominees, which I think says a lot about the talent in our city.
How do you nominate somebody for that?
There is a form on our website. So if you know anybody, you can submit it. We also accept self-nominations. So if you yourself are a budding artist, we would love to highlight you. We just want to showcase as many people as possible on that wall, and through an article in the City Journal. There are a host of partnerships that we've done in the past fiscal year, which you can see up on the screen. Through partnerships, we're able to expand our reach without overextending our resources. As a small plug, Grassroots Shakespeare will return this month on June 27th with Comedy of Errors. Looking forward, you know, our new biggest adventure is the Holladay Theater Company. We're excited to produce our pilot production of Newsies. We have a large cast of 95 people, which shows you how kind of desperate our community was for a community theater. And now we have it, which we're very excited for. We will be performing in Olympus High. Yay! and that will be August 21st through the 25th. The new program was budgeted at $42,400 in expenses, but as Christian noted, there are adjustments which made that not feel as big as it was. We also increased some revenues, some projected revenues based on what we've received in the past couple of years. For example, our ZAP grant has steadily increased. We received more sponsorship funding for our concert series this year than we ever have before, which is great. We also got increase in artist fees for our art shows, so there were a few adjustments we made on the back end to make it more accurately reflect what we've been getting in. Anyway, we're excited about this project. It'll bring a lot of new volunteers, new families, and a lot of excitement. I also am excited to talk about the Historical Commission. We had a big goal this year to work on a strategic plan. We hired a consultant through Process Curiosity to help guide us through our thoughts and strategize what our goals should be moving into the next, I say, 5 years. From that discussion, the facilitated discussion we had, the Historical Commission zeroed in on a couple that they're going to focus on in this coming fiscal year. One being outreach to families and young people, and another being improving commission operations through written policies and established structures. And you'll see both of those reflected in our budget request. Now to the programs. The speaker series has grown steadily in popularity with record attendance at Kim Duffy's lecture on the Carmelite Monastery, which drew over 125 attendees with kind of standing room only. We squished as many people as we could into that room and then had overflow in this room. We also covered a variety of topics, from ecological history to vintage business signs to a panel of Holladay's mayors and city managers in celebration of Holladay's 25th anniversary. We just wrapped up Preservation Month with a special speaker series lecture by our commission's very own Dr. Martha Bradley Evans on Utah architecture and what it signifies about the people who built it and lived in it. Our self-guided historic holiday tour, now I believe in its third year, grew to 37 locations with the addition of the Cottonwood Club and Valley View Drive. The QR codes have been accessed 3,180 times just in May. That's 8,858 engagements total since we started tracking last year. This project combines really, really deep and time-consuming research with community connection in just a very brilliant way. Our annual History Night brought together nearly 100 people to hear lectures from Ken Ivory and Alex Stromberg of This Is the Place Heritage Park, with a special performance by the Heritage Singers. We also shared stories behind the artifacts in the city's collection and displayed them for the evening. There is an ethical balance all collecting institutions must strike between preserving artifacts and making them accessible. And History Night is a very important step toward achieving that balance, as it brought our collection, which is usually in storage, to our community. The next project I'll discuss is also an important step in that process. And I won't spend a lot of time on this because Ty already talked about it, but after 12 years of vision and planning, our Rooted Together historical exhibits experience is almost here. With leadership, I want to call out Holly and the many people on the steering committee, many of you who are in this room. They've done a lot of work to pull this together. With our consultants, Riggs Ward Design, the exhibits will include a history walk, citywide markers, and future displays in City Hall. Installation begins after July 4th with a ribbon cutting on October 20th at our History Night, which will be this year a child-focused History Night with games and activities of a historical nature. Looking ahead, we'll continue all this work while adding a modest about $2,000 to our budget to help care for and preserve our artifact collection responsibly. Finally, I just want to say thank you for your time and for your support. For all me and the committees I work with. We're all so proud of the work we've done for this special community, and we're excited about what's ahead. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
The thank you should be turned around to you. You do a great job.
Yes.
You make Holladay look really good.
Yes. I mean, it's pretty easy to make Holladay look good, so.
Great.
Hey, man, I just had a quick question. We need a tentative budget for the Holladay Theater Company. We had budgeted $35,000. So is that $5,000?
The $42,400, I think, was this year and next year combined. Yeah?
So, okay.
Does that make
sense?
sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So,
I got you.
This production.
The current fiscal
over
year will
2
be
fiscal
35.
years. Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I was like, wait, what's the big year?
Yeah. That's a good question. Any other questions?
Thank you so much for all of you.
Yes. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Have I shared with this group, I just want to brag on just one more, a little bit. Have I shared with this group that Megan, so I sit on the SAP Church board, and we reviewed last year 218 applications for funding, and we score them individually instead of group. So lots of input, and Megan's application on behalf of our city was the #1 scored application
we're kind of wrapping up, but thinking back too, when we applied for ZAP funding, I think it was that funding for Woodson Park, we scored #1 in that application too. So we have been blessed with incredible staff in this city. And, you know, we're kind of wrapping up this budget season. We've got some changes to make, but they're changes that are going to be approved. But, you know, I was going through just some questions I had with Christian before the council meeting, which I sometimes do to save time to get my questions answered. And, you know, I don't know how other councils work. He knows a little bit, you know, probably a lot. And I don't think our council tends to really get into the weeds like some other councils, but I think there's a reason for it. I think, number one, you can tell there's a lot of work that goes into the budgeting on the front end to make sure there's thought put into it, and it's done properly, and done responsibly, and it's done professionally, because the bottom line is, we're just elected officials. We're really not city professionals. Like, we don't know a lot of the stuff. So there's a lot of trust that goes into what goes into this. So by the time it gets to us, it's just the trust level we have in our staff and Christian people that prepare it to pull out the guidance they need to put the budget together properly, but then also to guide us to areas where they need guidance or they think we need clarification, so that by the time it hits us, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it because we have a lot of trust in what goes into it. It's when that trust breaks down, I think, which you've probably seen in your careers, where all of a sudden people start to question everything. And so, you know, I know this is your first full year, really. I think you came on board right at the beginning of budget season last year.
April 1st.
Yeah. And so that was probably more of a team effort, where this year, even though we had a baby in the mix.
It was pretty much all Gina last year.
Right. So this year too, you have baby, but it was pretty much you working with Gina and just, you know, terrific job on the budget, but a terrific job with all the people skipping around. But I got to go back to when I came on board. I guess I'm waxing nostalgic now that I'm on my way out. But when I came in, the Arts Council was just, you know, just a lot of turmoil and not providing much value to the city, some, but not much. But when I look at where it's gone from, you know, gosh, the work Cheryl did such a good job. We need a full-time person. Now we've got a great full-time person. We actually need support for the full-time person, so we don't wear the full-time person out. And it just continues to grow. I mean, I look at all the stuff that you guys are doing, and it's just incredible. So anyway, we just feel really lucky to have the quality of, you know, just human beings, but also the professionalism and competence you bring to this effort is not unnoticed. So thanks to everybody.
I mean, the budget document itself has evolved into something really much more sophisticated and understandable than it was just three years ago.
Oh, yes.
Angie, the stress level she's on is lower than it's true.
Well, you know, we do talk about that. We talked about that with the Arts Council before. There's always concern of, you know, the bottom line is everything you see is the result of the people you have, the quality of the people you have, the passion they bring to it, the confidence they bring to it. But you also don't want to burn them out. We have that concern about you. I did anyway. Gina did 4, 5, 6 years ago when we were running with a really thin staff. And is John doing okay? We need to give John some help. And, you know, the same thing when you came up, well, with Cheryl, and when we transitioned, it's like we need to beef up the staff, or we're gonna burn them out. We're gonna wear them out. We need to make sure people are. We're having the same conversation with the Justice Courts a little bit now. Just a concern about bringing Mill Creek on board, and we want to make sure that the people that are working there feel supported in their efforts. And so, anyway, thanks to everybody.
Paul? Agreed. Oh, you
Big job.
Are we moving to adjourn already? Unless we have anything else. Does anybody have anything else before we adjourn?
So Mayor, one just quick thing. I would love to talk about August dates, if that is on our agenda. We kind of did that when we got the calendar. Okay.
Well, we've got the 7th and the 21st, unless we want to
All right,
change it.
then sorry, I didn't hear that.
No, I mean, are those good dates? Do we need to?
I don't have an issue.
I think so. Awesome.
Sorry, what are the August dates again?
7th and 21st.
Yeah, school starts on the 13th, so
Wow.
we're back in business.
Okay, Mayor, move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And it's daylight.
Amazing. John, thank you for that information about the CBD signs. I called the constituent back and explained everything. And he says, "Oh, thanks for all the information. This is really helpful."
Oh,
so,
good.
So thanks.
No.
So it sounds like you already had somebody call.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Mayor. We did, and I assumed it was the same person, but it wasn't.
Yeah.